Hey, what's up, fight fans? It's Will back once again for another fight card prediction. We're going to be breaking down UFC Fight Night 130 from Utica, New York. As Jimmie Rivera faces off against Marlon Moraes in the main event here of a card I actually like quite a lot. First of all, I just want to apologise for getting this out. This is like very early Thursday morning where I am. Had a really tough time trying to find the time to put this out. Made the journey back from UFC Liverpool on Monday, didn't get into mid-afternoon, and then I had stuff to do with the daughter, had work, and I've been trying to get it out there, but it's been tough. It was hard to do a little bit of taping this being in Liverpool, but any opportunity I got, I was watching fights in the host hotel. Great atmosphere at UFC Liverpool, especially for the main event. I wouldn't say it was the best card I've ever been to. The main event lacked a lot, in my opinion, but it was nice to get back to live fights. I do love watching live fights, but we have a really solid fight card here from New York, and I'm going to get into it very, very shortly. Just as always, thank you for all the comments, the likes, subscribes. I think we're 90 away from hitting the 2,000, so if I could get that by maybe UFC 226, that's kind of like the halfway point of the year in early July, that'd be pretty badass. We've got a run of events now. I will be dropping my UFC 225 video on Sunday. So only a couple of days away, 2 or 3 days away. I will be dropping that one, so keep an eye out for that. And we're going to get straight into the fight card. So again, thank you for the support. I actually met some of these down in Liverpool, which was pretty awesome. Shout out to Jordan, shout out to Joe, Kyle, Nix, Joseph, I think one was one of them as well. There's a whole host of other. Rebecca, who was very, very nice. So I appreciate you guys, and thank you for the kind words. And I'm sure I'll run into these again very soon. So we're going to start down in the UFC Fight Pass prelims, which is actually pretty stacked this week. You don't want to be missing these early fights. Some guys that are debuting in the UFC, I've had my eye on for the longest time. So yeah, starting off in the flyweight division, we've got Jared Brooks facing off against Jose Shorty Torres. If you're a pretty big fan of the sport of MMA, you will know who Jose Torres is. He's a 7-0 bantamweight champion. 7-0. He is the bantamweight champion. He is the flyweight champion. That's what I'm trying to say. Apologies, I've been working literally just through the door for this here, but yeah, a real solid prospect fighting out of Chicago. Unbelievable as an all-round solid professional. Big power, can knock you out, has submission skills, has been the distance, 25 minutes, which is huge in my opinion. Been in there with opponents of vast experience, especially bigger experience fighter. He's been in there with them all. Like Pedro Nobre, who's been around, he fought in the UFC. It's a really good addition to the UFC. I was wondering when they were going to actually bring this guy to the UFC, because I've been expecting it for a while, and I actually thought he might make the Chicago card. He is a native of Chicago. Opportunity, but like I said, 2-time champion in Titan FC. That's no mean feat. Coming off an unbelievable knockout of Alberto Orellano, which was really, really, really good knockout. Down at American Top Team now, and that seems to be sharpening his skills a lot. I was speaking to Din Thomas, who last week, who was in Liverpool, and he talks so highly about this guy. He says his work ethic, it's just his talent is very, very pretty much inspiring to see. He says a young kid that's coming in, he just wants the one thing is to go and be the best he can be and win championships. Facing Jared Brooks here, who is, I think, a little undersized even for 125. I think 150 would be a great division for that guy. Really tenacious fighter. Really looks for the takedown. Looks to be in your face. Just looks to bring the fight to you. Coming off that loss to a very kind of close loss to Figueiredo down in Brazil. Beat Eric Shelton. And then if you go back, you can watch some of his pancreas fights as well, where he was fighting, I think it was strawweight 115 there. So, and looked dominant. The guy's got suplexes. He can grapple. I think his striking does have some improvement to do. I see this being a really close fight. I'm seeing people really, really hyped up on Jose Torres, and so am I. But I think there's a tough fight, especially on short notice for Jose Torres. I'm going to pick him. I'm going to pick him 29-28. And honestly, I would not be surprised one little bit if Jared Brooks kind of upsets the apple card here and just hands Torres his first professional loss there. So, but I just think the overall skills of Jose Torres, he'll do enough to pull this through. But I think it's a tough fight for him in this one here. But I'm going to go Torres via decision. Johnny Eduardo against the debut and Nathaniel Wood, who is a guy I've seen for the longest time fighting out of London, and has really started to come into his own. The prospect, Nathaniel Wood, fighting out of Titan fighter, out of London, one of Brad Pickett's guys that he's brought through, and has really found his niche. Pretty much ever since he left Bama, he fought in Bama and had a couple of upset losses. Mike Cutton, who I think is a fairly decent fighter, submitted him with an arm lock in the first. Alan Philpott TKO'd him. The doctors kind of stopped that late in the third round. That was a fight. He took a beating. He took a kind of a lot of jabs to the nose, busted up a little bit. It was a competitive fight. But yeah, I think ever since he's left Bama, he's really kind of come into his own. Beat Von Lee, like a staple of kind of European for the lower weight classes. He's a guy that he handled him pretty convincingly, knocked him out in the second round. Marko Kovacevic was another one there at Cage Warriors for the vacant bantamweight title, and then from there he's just kind of made the title his own. The Josh Reed fight was crazy. He got clipped hard, was in big trouble, and was looking like he was going to get taken out, and then his back was against the cage, and he absolutely rifled him with a huge right hook, turned him around, and just started pounding on Josh Reed. And it was a beautiful. That round was actually pure craziness. He went down a couple of times. He looked staggered, turned it around, and got the first round finish. And then beat Luca Iovini last time out with a beautiful. He sniped him with like a hook that hit him square in the chin, knocked him down. Really fast hands, really big combinations that he puts together. I think he's got a really nice low kick as well. Just a progressing fight, and I think it's a really good matchup against a really experienced guy who I just think that is at the tail end of his career now, but we've got this young guy coming through trying to make his way in the UFC, and I think that Nathaniel Wood could give him a really good fight here. Eduardo, I don't think we've ever. He's a guy that we never really seen that much in the UFC. Kind of, you forget about him. I forgot about him that altogether. It's like the Aljamain Sterling fight was the one that I totally forgot. He fought Manny Gamburian, and I forgot that he lost down in Brazil to Matthew Lopez. He's one of those guys that's kind of trading wins and losses. He's dangerous. To say at least he's got a lot of experience. I just think that Nathaniel Wood right now, he's catching Nathaniel Wood at a really bad time. Super confident, very durable. I think that there is path to victories for Johnny Eduardo. I just think there's more for Nathaniel Wood. I think he's the better striker. I think he's dangerous. I do, like I say, I don't think Nathaniel Wood is the finished product, but I am a fan of his. I think he's learned from his losses. And since he's been in Cage Warriors, he's been an absolute revelation, in my opinion. I think he can knock out Johnny Eduardo here. I think he needs to be patient. I think he needs to have his defense and his guard up and don't take any silly strikes. I'm going to go Nathaniel Wood. I'm going to go a second round TKO victory there for the prospect. Next up, we've got Jessica Aguilar against Jodie Esquibel. I'm going to go with Jodie Esquibel here. I didn't like what I seen out of Jessica Aguilar in that fight with Courtney Casey. Was getting like beat up from Casey being on her back, just kicking her legs. Jodie Esquibel, I think if she stops the takedowns here, if she does not get taken down, she will win the fight. Absolutely no doubt about it. I think she will pot shot her. Not pot shot because she's got a short reach, but I think she will get in close and throw enough strikes where Jessica Aguilar is not going to be able to get the shots back off on her. So, Esquibel, she went to Poland and kind of got mixed up a little bit with Minsk against Karolina Kowalkiewicz. Came in against fought against Diana Bennett, and then got that opportunity to come to the UFC, but she has a fight that's like 6-3, so it's not a great record. She has lost to decent fighters. I mean, Kovacevic, Grasso are all UFC fighters. Alex Chambers was a UFC fighter. I don't know whether she still is. And our wins aren't great. I mean, I don't think Bennett's overly that great. I don't think, especially Kalinick, who she thought wasn't great. Jin Frey I actually quite like. I think if Jodie Esquibel stops the takedown here, she beats Jessica Aguilar. I think Aguilar might get her down on odd occasion, but I think Esquibel could beat her up on the feet a little bit. So for me, I am going to go for Jodie Esquibel to win a decision there. Moving on to the prelims here, we have Desmond Green against Gleison Tibau. I think I shouldn't. Sometimes I kind of have this struggle with myself. I'm saying like fighters are on their way out, and I kind of got called up on it last week at UFC Liverpool, where I said that Claudio Silva might be rusty, 4 years off, and he actually called me out in it in the hotel when I met him. He says, "I watched your video," and that was pretty cool because I've had a few occasions like that where fighters have watched my video, and I've kind of brought it to me that I don't think you should have said this, or I'm going to show you, or stuff like that. So fair play to Claudio. Went out there and absolutely handled Nordine Taleb. Once he got the chance to take it to the ground, he absolutely stifled him, got the submission, looked great. But I do think that Gleison Tibau, he says he's 34 years old. I think this guy's a lot older than that. I think he's kicking 40's door down, if not past it. His chin might be on the kind of receiving end, the worst end of things right now. Got knocked out by Islam Makhachev last time, and before that I think he was out for well over 18 months to a year to 18 months via USADA. Lost to Abel Trujillo, lost to Tony Ferguson. They're not bad losses, but he actually had close to a 2.5 year layoff before that loss to Makhachev back in January. Desmond Green, bigger guy here. I think he's the better grappler. I think he can stifle him a little bit. I think since he's come into the UFC, his striking has definitely improved. I think that he's looked fairly decent in his UFC run. His only losses are to Prazeres and Habilov, who are tough fighters, and he gave them good fights in that one there. I think he has the better gas tank. I think he has the better, well, in saying that, he has gassed out pretty bad in the past, but I think that was due to kind of dramatic kind of weight cuts that I think he's got a lot better at since then. I'm going to go with Desmond Green to win a close fight. I think he edges most of the rounds, but I do think that Gleison Tibau could potentially start taking rounds off him if the rounds are close. But I'm going to go, I feel better picking Desmond Green in that one, so I'm going to pick him via decision. Moving on, welterweight division with Bilal Muhammad against Chan's Rencoutre. Bilal Muhammad, I think he's fighting through Ramadan now. He's, if I'm right, I remember reading that somewhere. Really solid fighter, just a solid fighter. Really good technical boxing, technical striking. I think that he's got the wrestling advantage here if he wants to use it. I think he's got more variety of strikes on his feet, better movement than what Rencountre's got. I think if he wants to take it to the ground, he will take it to the ground. A little bit worried about his chin. I think if you can hit him with a good shot, you can put him down like we've seen in the past. Now, Vicente Luque is a big hitter, and if he catches you with those beautiful strikes that he throws, he will put you down. I just think that Rencoutre, from what I've seen of him, I think he's like 31 years old. I think he's got potential to win fights in the UFC. I just don't think this is one that he can really win. He leaves his hands pretty low. He's got kind of got an awkward style where, like I say, his hands are low. I think he's pretty well rounded. Can finish on the feet, can finish on the mat. Nothing really stands out. In terms of his stand-up, I think he has power and accuracy. But his hands are too low, and I don't like that against a precision striker like Bilal Muhammad, who can piece you up a little bit. Yeah, I think he's a decent wrestler. I think his technique could use a little work, but that's me, a guy that just watches a couple of fights and is saying that, so I really shouldn't be critiquing a guy who works in this all the time. I think he does a fine job of kind of using his length at times, and especially with attacking submissions as well. I think he can use the length that he has with that. I just think Bilal Muhammad's going to piece him up a little bit, and I think on the short notice he could stop him there. The pick is going to be Bilal Muhammad. I'm going to pick via TKO. I think his work rate and his output is just going to be a little bit too much for Rencoutre. So Bilal via TKO. One of my most confident picks of the whole entire card. Nik Lentz is against David Teymur. I just think this is a bad matchup for Nik Lentz. Like I said, I think I said last week, I was gutted that David Teymur got taken off this card. I think that Teymur is the more faster, explosive striker, very high volume, that is always on the go. I can't remember. I remember reading a stat. I think it was 4 strikes per minute, which is pretty. 4.81 strikes, I think it was. I remember reading our or was it 3.1? 3.8. I think it was the 3.8 or 4.8. It was in that region. He's 5 inches on Nik Lentz there, so a big advantage in there. He's faster, he hits harder, he's got better leg kicks. He's just an overall better striker. Nik Lentz is going to want to grab him, make the start, take it to the ground, and look to submit him. I don't think he can do that. I think that Teymur's superior volume and technique will win this fight, and I think he will knock him out pretty convincingly, actually. Like I say, Nik Lentz is a solid technical kind of grappler. He's capable of kind of grinding out wins and grinding rounds. Got to be careful of the chokes that he has, because he has shown that in the past. If he gets a hold of them, he's really effective with those. But what I like out of Teymur is he's shown fairly decent takedown defense against decent guys. And as a guy I think is completely on the up. I think he's just too fast for Nik Lentz here, and he's going to show him. And I just don't see Nik Lentz consistently landing takedowns to win this fight. So I'm going to pick David Teymur, to win this fight via TKO. I might actually go a round 1 knockout for David Teymur. Sorry, I'm getting these guys mixed up here. And the main fight of the prelims here, we have Sijara Eubanks against Lauren Murphy. So Sijara did really well on the show, and then when it got to the big time where she had to face Nico Montano, she decided she didn't want to make weight, which is a recurring theme kind of in the last year here. She's only got like a 500 record as well, so you have to be careful of that. She's lost to UFC fighters, Katlyn Chookagian, Aspen Ladd, with wins over Amber Lent and Gina Begley, really not showing anything whatsoever. And on the show, she beat Deanna Bennett. Like I said before, she's not the greatest fighter. She knocked her out with a head kick, and then she beat Roxanne Modafferi, which was a big win, actually, coming from that show, considering the experience that Roxanne's got. Clear experience factor goes to Lauren Murphy here. I think toughness factor, I think she's a tougher fighter, hard girl to put away, in your nose, in your face, looking to really put it up against you. Coming off a very close split win against Barb Honchak. I thought Barb actually won that fight, going back and watching it. But our losses aren't to bad fighters either. Sarah McMahon, Liz Carmouche, Katlyn Chookagian. So she's losing to decent people as well, so it's not overly that bad. I think that Eubanks is the more well-rounded. She's the more well-rounded fighter. I think she's the more explosive fighter. I think if her weight cut goes well, which I think is a big thing here as well, because she's obviously had troubles with that in the past. I think that if she's got that under control, has a solid weight cut, I think she can last through that 15 minutes. I think that she could put it on Lauren Murphy, whose defensive frailties are all for there. So she gets hit a lot, but she's tough, she's grimy, she's going to be in there for the 15 minutes. It's not a fight I'm overly too jacked up on. I watched a couple of fights here and there, these two, but I'm going to pick Sijara Eubanks via decision. Not really overly that confident, if I'm being honest. Light heavyweight division, Gian Villante against Sam Alvey. A fight I'm not really giving too much into it. I think both guys can fight sloppy. I think both guys have got big power to knock you out. I think if Sam Alvey can survive early and outwork Gian Villante and just kind of pepper him and keep it in his face, I think he will win this fight. I'm seeing some people really confident in Gian Villante, and I don't think you can ever be confident in that guy. I really don't. If he shows up on occasions, he is a really, really good fighter, but he gasses badly, throws everything into his shots, never has much left in the tank. I just think that Sam Alvey can work better over the 15 minutes. I mean, he knocked out Prachnio in his last fight, which I was looking at that now. That was a bad pick on my part, picking Prachnio. I'm going to pick Sam Alvey. I think he could possibly knock him out as well. So I'm going to go, saying that, his output wanes a lot. But if he can hit you with a big shot, he can put you out. I'm going to pick Sam Alvey via a pretty smelly decision win there. Good fight here. Julio Arce against Daniel Teymur. Now, if you've been watching my videos for the longest time, you will know that I was speaking about Daniel Teymur well before he came into the UFC. I was always saying about David, I think Daniel is the better of the two brothers. And I just think he had a tough fight in his UFC debut against Danny Henry. Danny Henry's a big dude. I was actually speaking to him at UFC Liverpool, and he's going to have surgery on his elbow, I believe. So good luck to him with that. But that was a great fight, UFC Glasgow. Daniel Teymur came out hard, low kicks, beautiful combinations, hitting with some big strikes. But I just think the size disparity and just the overall will of Danny Henry really broke him down in those late rounds. And he really just beat him up for the last couple of rounds. Great win for Danny Henry. But I think this is the weight class he needs to be at, 145. Because he's tiny, he's not a big dude at all. I took a picture with him, and I was taller than this guy's, and I'm not a big guy at all. Well-rounded fighter, very fast hands, very good low kicks. Like I said, very good jiu-jitsu. That's something that his brother really hasn't got, is the jiu-jitsu side, but Daniel has. But he has the striking to go along with it, I think, and I think he's got a really good fight IQ to him. I think he can fight to a really good game plan if needs be. He just doesn't need to go in there and brawl. Julio Arce is a guy that he actually really impresses me as well. He's a guy that, obviously, if you go back and watch the Brian Kelleher fights, you will find that this guy's a guy that's kind of recognizable. You recognize the name if you go back and watch some fights. I was really impressed with him in his UFC debut. Very good technical striking against Danny Gay. He just really beat him up from the outside and looked very good in doing so. He's going to be the bigger fighter here. He's got the bigger reach. Daniel, I'm really struggling with this fight, and I was close to putting a bet on this fight. I'm not 100% sure I am, but I might. If you keep an eye on my betting things like Bet MMA tips, you might see I put a bet on this one. I think it's really close, but I have a lean with Julio Arce. I think that he can keep that. It's a tough one for me to pick because I'm a fan of Daniel Teymur. I'm a fan of both those Teymur brothers. I'm going to pick Julio Arce. I think he's got the better technique. I think he's got the better footwork. I think it might be a sticky start for him. I think that Daniel Teymur could start really, really fast, but I think that Arce will come into the fight late on, and I think he could start to take rounds from there. So could Daniel Teymur possess like a takedown game in this one? Perhaps. I think that Arce has shown a fairly decent takedown game from what I've seen in the past, but he's not been fighting the best guys out there. Guys winning records. I thought the win over Peter Pettis was actually fairly decent on the Dana White show. I'm going to pick him to win, but honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if Daniel Teymur came out here and showed what he's all about. I think the guy's got a lot of talent, a lot of skill. Oh, yeah, it's a tough fight for me to pick. I'm going to go Julio Arce via a decision in that one there. Next up, we have Jake Ellenberger against Ben Saunders. Ben Saunders was coming off a kind of beat down against Alan Jouban last time out, and Jake Ellenberger, I think, is on the verge of just walking away from the sport. I think his UFC career was saved with that win over Matt Brown, where he looked like he was in a lot of trouble and came out and put the guy down. And I think it was the second round there. The first round, sorry, he caught him with a body kick and then put him down. It's one of Matt Brown's frailties is getting kicked to the body. But since then he's came back, he got absolutely starched by Jorge Masvidal, and then he got knocked out with a brutal elbow, an absolute brutal elbow against Mike Perry, where that was over a year ago, and it was just, when you go back and watch it, it's nasty. Nasty. Ben Saunders, I think he fights okay with the range that he has. I do think he could do a lot better with it, but he's probably not going to get better with the age he's at. Dangerous when he goes to ground. He throws up those big old legs and looks for submissions off his back. I'm going to go, it's a dog or pass fight for me here, and I've seen the odds, and Jake Ellenberger's a pretty sizable favourite. I just think that Ben Saunders can outwork him if he doesn't get caught early and can be grimy, kind of get into a dirty clinch position and look to unload from there. But like I say, I'm not overly confident in this pick. I'm going to pick Ben Saunders. I think he could actually knock out Jake Ellenberger. I think that Jake Ellenberger's chin is completely done. So I'm going to go Ben Saunders. I'm going to go an early third round TKO victory there. Heavyweight division, Walt Harris against Daniel Spitz. Another one where people are really juiced up on Walt Harris, and I think Daniel Spitz, now I know he's winning the UFC is not overly great. I thought he looked fairly bad against Mark Godbeer, but he did come in there very, very short notice. But he came out and he TKO'd Anthony Hamilton last time, but he is known for getting knocked out as Anthony Hamilton with the slightest of touches. So I think he's got some of that. I just think he's overall okay. Nothing really stands out. He's a big dude for the division. Just kind of a typical heavyweight. I just think that he's not overly that good. And when I watch his tape, it's not technical, very sloppy. The fight, I think it was Cabbage Coher. I think it was just so bad. But he's maybe made improvements since then. Walt Harris is big athletic guy. He jumped in short notice against Verdum, and you can't really take too much away from that fight. But his wins: Chase Sherman, Cyril Asker, low-level guys in my opinion, and the guy can be knocked out. He's got like a 10-7 record as well, so he's not far off a 500 record. Lost to Mark Godbeer last time out, which was just a stupid thing. He was having the clear advantages in that fight and then did something really stupid. It's hard trusting Walt Harris, but I'm going to trust him in this spot here. Oh, Daniel Spitz for some reason is calling out to me. I don't know why. I think he could be the big upset win this week, but I'm going to go my initial pick. When I heard of this fight, I thought Walt Harris, big athletic dude, big power. If he catches you with a big shot, you will go down it and he will catch you. But another one of these fights, I'm not overly confident, I'll be honest with you. I'm going to go Walt Harris for a TKO at some point in the fight. Moving on to the co-main event, Gregor Gillespie against Vinc Pichel. This is a really fun fight for me, actually. I'm a big fan of this fight. I think that Gregor Gillespie, I think, is the real deal. I really do. I think he is a massive prospect at 155. I think he's a massive prospect at 145 when he goes down there. I think that is the weight class for him, if I'm being brutally honest. I think that he is relentless. The guy is absolutely freaking relentless. He will just go after takedown after takedown after takedown. He will not stop. He just goes. He's got big power. He's got good boxing. He's got submissions. He's got... This is the play for draft. See a DraftKings play this week. It's hard. When I've made my lineups, I'm finding it really hard to keep Gregor Gillespie out of my lineups, because you know the high output this guy can have. He's a 4-time Division 1 All-American, D1 wrestler. That's a serious pedigree for anybody to have. But his pace is something I love seeing guys with a high pace, high engine that's going to keep them going. But he has the he never burns himself out either. He has a cardio that keeps on going, and he breaks guys, and that's what happens here. He just breaks guys. He's really durable, and he just finds a weakness in the guy, and he exploits it, whether it be with the hands or with the grappling or the pace. That he just breaks guys altogether. Solid boxing, lands a high rate as well, and he lands a high rate of takedowns. He's a guy that is extremely fun to watch. Very solid from top position. Guy blankets you, but also does so when moving into a better position as well. But I do think he has a big step up here in Vinc Pichel. I think there's a big step. I think Pichel can give him problems just by being a bigger guy. I think having that experience, been around the UFC a long time. I know he took a long time off with injury and so on. Came off the Ultimate Fighter pretty much as a kind of kickboxer, but it's kind of wrestled mostly to his wins in the UFC, if I'm being honest with you. And he's a guy as well that can suplex and grapple away. I don't think he can do that against someone against Gregor Gillespie, because I think Gillespie is the higher wrestler and grappler in this one here. But he's a guy that if he gets you to the ground, he does advance. He will be dominant on the ground. But I do find that kind of hard stretch here against Gillespie. I don't think it. Kind of one of the ways I can see for maybe Pichel to win is to maybe grind Gillespie against the cage, but I just don't see him keeping Gillespie. I see him getting under hooks and reversing the position, and then ultimately getting takedowns from there. I wasn't overly impressed with Pichel and his win over Nico Price last time. No, it wasn't Nico Price. I've totally forgot who that was. But it was a very close fight, because I remember absolutely betting Vinc Pichel, and it was Joaquin Silva. It was, and I was very, very close that fight to kind of losing my shit, because I thought Pichel had a big advantage there and really didn't use it to his advantage, to say the least. But although I do think it's a tough fight for Gregor Gillespie here, and I think if he can get him early, because we have seen Gillespie like caught early in fights. Not when I say caught early, he's been hit with big shots. You can go back to his UFC fights, you can see that as well. But does Pichel have the knockout power? I think he has, in all honesty here. So he has path to victories. I just struggle to see it. I really do. I'm going to pick Gregor Gillespie, but I think it's going to be a tough 15 minutes here where he's going to garner a lot of experience against a big dude, a big tough dude. So I'm going to go Gregor Gillespie via unanimous decision there. And the main event of the night, a really solid fight here for a main event. Jimmie Rivera against Marlon Moraes. I was so privileged to be there for Jimmie Rivera's first fight in the UFC in Glasgow. From that, I knew who he was beforehand, because he was obviously an Ultimate Fighter, and he put on Dennis Bermudez, where he knocked him down and nearly got him out of there, but ultimately ended up losing that fight, went out of the show and just absolutely started killing dudes, got himself into the UFC and has looked nothing but solid, big power hitter, big combinations, but just a guy that is just tough, and he's well-rounded, decent striking, decent wrestling, decent grappling, quite small for the division. And he comes from that kind of Kyokushin karate background at Tiger Schulman's. That's I think one of the better camps in the whole of MMA, that really doesn't get all that much credit, being honest with you. Went through Brimage with ease. Pedro Munoz, I think, is a big win against that guy, especially in your second fight. Yuri Alcantara is a guy that he's one of those guys you have to get past to kind of get that win experience. Totally, absolutely obliterated, I think, Uriah Faber with leg kicks, faster hands. Faber really had nothing for him. I thought Thomas Almeida showed a little bit what Jimmie Rivera's made of. Jimmie started off early, put him down with a couple of beautiful shots, some really nice leg kicks in that one there as well. But Thomas Almeida started to figure out a little bit, or he started to make adjustments in the fight, which started to get at Jimmie Rivera. And that's something I think Marlon Moraes can actually use to the advantage here. I think he's one of those guys who is really good at adjusting in the middle of fights. And I think he showed that in the past with his World Series of Fighting days. I think that that's an advantage for him here. Also think he has great leg kicks as well. That's something. I think he's got more variety, more versatility on the feet, and I think that's something he will look to use here. I'm trying to think whether this will be who will go for takedowns, and I think Jimmie will try, but I don't think he really wants to stick around with Marlon Moraes on the ground because he is dangerous down there. So predominantly I see this being a stand-up fight, and yeah, it's. I was pretty strong on Jimmie Rivera, I'll be honest with you, earlier on, probably last week before I went to Liverpool. Then as I was going to Liverpool, I pretty much watched about the last 5 or 6 fights of Marlon Moraes, watched Jimmie Rivera's fights as well, which was always fun. I think that I think it's going to be really close. I think both guys have power to put each other down, but I struggle to see it. I think this is going to be a chess match. I think it's going to be very close rounds. I can see this being a split decision over 5 rounds, but ultimately for me, I'm going to go with my gut feeling. That was Jimmie Rivera. I like what I see. I think he's the next guy in waiting for the winner of Garbrandt and Dillashaw 227, I think it is. So I'm going to go Jimmie Rivera via split decision in the main event of that one there. So that's my predictions for UFC Utica from New York State. I'm back, like I said, on Sunday, 2 or 3 days' time for Yoel Romero versus Robert Whittaker 2, UFC 225, which I think is a really good card. Good fights on Fight Pass, good fights on the prelims, and an even really a good main card as well with CM Punk, which a lot of people have been kicking up a lot of fuss on social media regarding him being in the pay-per-view. Probably rightly so as well, considering who's on the prelims and the UFC Fight Pass prelims as well. So until then, get subscribing. Let me know your picks down below. And as always, thank you for your support. And I will be back in a couple of days' time for UFC 225. So keep an eye out for that. And all the best and enjoy the fights when they come around on Friday night, not Saturday. So take care. All the best. Peace.